In a recent lesson of mine, I discovered something that could be one of the easiest ways to improve any golf swing. This discovery that I found using this simple device here made it so much easier for my student to control where the club face was travelling through impact, getting those centre strikes, square faces, hitting straighter, further golf shots, but also improving the plane and swing arc back and forth through to finish. So not only did this give them the increased distance, it gave them the accuracy as well. So I'd highly recommend sticking around to the very end of the video so you know exactly what this device is, how it's helped my students, not just one, but many, many more, at least 20 students, and how you can utilize this to your own advantage to gain more distance, more consistency, and improve your overall golf swing. So for those of you who are new to the channel, welcome. My name is Harry, PGA Golf Professional, down here at the Golf Projects, transforming golfers worldwide on Skillist. Why not hit the subscribe button if you do enjoy watching this video, and drop those comments down below of tips or drills, video topic you'd like me to cover in a future video. And in today's video, I'd like to cover something that I discovered with a recent student of mine. As I mentioned before, a recent discovery that could be the easiest way to improve any golf swing. Now, this device here is called the Tour Rotation Stick. And what you simply do is when you get it, you pop it on the end of the club like this, and you use the screw to tighten it up, and it simply sits just on the left side of your body like this. And if you're a familiar subscriber to the channel, you may have watched a couple of my takeaway videos where we place an alignment stick on the left side of the grip, and it is placed on the left side of the body like this. So first off, what this device allows us to do is, for those of you who are suffering with that inside takeaway or outside takeaway, it allows you to set the club in a way more reliable backswing position here. This P1 position is what it's called in the golf swing. And what I notice too many golfers do is that, let's just say, forget this device for now, we tend to notice for the takeaway that they roll the wrist too much like this, seeing the golf glove logo, the GX logo here, pointing too much towards the sky. You can see there the Tour Rotation Stick has moved away from the body. Club face now is massively open. So the first thing you can do with this is just simply control that takeaway on the way back by just ensuring that this part here is continuing to touch your lead side of the body up until you reach a point just before parallel to the ground. And that just helps me there, and has helped my students in the past set the club on plane on the way back, but also control this club face position, because as the club shaft itself reaches parallel to the ground, the leading edge, so this part here, should preferably be on the same angle as your spine. And then bringing in the second part of the golf swing, how can we move this then into the backswing? So when I talk a lot about the takeaway in this first move, I then mention to take this up to the top of the swing, as opposed to seeing too many golfers get well over the top like this here, getting the club to point all over to the right side of me, as opposed to pretty much bang down the target line. What we would like to see using this device, just to make it easier for people, is that when we get to this point here, some of my students, I've just mentioned to them, right, get that club head working over the right shoulder, but as a visual perspective, watch what happens when I get to the halfway point. This point here allows you to point at the golf ball. It allows you to check where that club shaft is going on the backswing, whether it's too vertical, too parallel, or just about right on this angular motion here, facing towards the golf ball. And to make these 2 points here even easier for you, so the takeaway and then up to the top for the backswing, you can take just an alignment stick or a rod that you may have at home and just place it a couple of feet behind the golf ball in line with your target. And what this allows me to do for that first setting is I'm keeping this Tour Rotation Stick touching the left side of me here. On the way back, getting that club head itself to go over that stick on the floor. And then for the second stage, working up to the backswing, and then just ensuring that that Tour Rotation Stick is going to point at the end of the alignment stick on the ground here. And that just allows me to get that club working up to the very top of the swing and a more on-plane, reliable swing path. So this completely stops anyone that's really suffering with that inside takeaway, rolling of the hands, rolling of the wrist too far on the inside, which is what a lot of my students were doing, but then going upwards too steep and over like so. because then we've got to do all sorts of reactions to try and get that club to fall and then to hit that golf ball. We can't physically hit the golf club from this angle here. It's practically impossible. Otherwise, we'd just go way steep into the ground. No good at all. So moving into the downswing, I've mentioned that obviously the students, my student in particular I'm talking about in this video, had the tendency of rolling the hands, getting the club working over the top a little bit too much, and then having to try and do this huge reaction to make it easier to get that club to the ball. But to time, that's very difficult. If we increase the speed a little bit or reduce the speed a little bit, this can have a massive effect on where that club face is at the golf ball, whether it's too open, closed, or perfectly in the middle. And to get that perfectly in the middle is going to be very, very difficult, because we've got to get a lot of this release of the club, this early release, to try and close down that open club face angle we had at the takeaway. But because we've got these 2 points now in control, working our way up to the top of the swing, we can now bring this into the downswing. So how could we implement this using this tour rotation stick? Well, quite simple. We've got that alignment stick on the ground still. We've worked it back to this point here for the start off, then up to the top of the swing. Well, what I would like you to do is obviously to initiate that downswing, we want to be starting from the lower body. Now, I'm not going to mention too much about the downswing in this video, so if you'd like to see more on the downswing, you can check this video out here after watching this one. I will leave a link at the end of this video for you to have a look at. But from the top of the backswing here, all we want to do is just imagine we're just trying to get our core to start rotating towards the target, and just as a visual perspective, look at the ball, but try and get that tour rotation stick to point at the alignment stick on the ground. Straight away, just this little transition from the top of the backswing to that point in the downswing allows us to get the club working back on the ideal plane that we're all looking for. Once we get to this point here, we just continue to rotate and hit the ball. But what you'll notice at impact here is that my hands are very much so ahead of the club face. And that's a good thing. We want the hands to be ahead of the club face at impact, even with the drivers to a certain degree, just to allow us to get that compression on the golf ball, but especially with the irons. And there wasn't any such thing as this early release taking place. And look what happens here. When I get this early release, like so, this tour rotation stick hits the left side of the body. Now with a normal stick or an alignment stick doing that, that would really hurt at some speed. But because of the material that's used on this tour rotation stick, this almost carbon feel here makes it so much easier to feel the wrong action. Now, feeling the wrong action is actually a good thing, because if you start swinging down from this point here and then stall the body here and allow the club to come past like so, the club almost overtaking the hands, early releasing the club, then we know this stick is going to hit you. So the key to this on the way through is ensuring that that club head continues to work on the swing arc, the swing circle. If we get this release here, the club actually comes out in front of us first before it goes behind us. So the actual swing direction, the direction that the club's swinging in, will be too far to the right. So we'll get that push or hook. So to stop this, we're going to get to the top of the swing, obviously get that hip turn, get the core working towards the target, visually seeing that tour rotation stick pointed at the stick, then to the golf ball, and then from there we're just holding this angle and getting our sternum to rotate towards the target. And you can see here I'm holding this angle that I've set from this position here and just allowing my hands to follow the hips on the way through, hands going close to the hips to avoid this tour rotation stick from hitting the left side of me. And that allows me then to control the club face on the way through. The aim of this, to control the club face on the way through, is rather than having this release pattern on the way through, we want this release pattern instead, a very passive impact zone with the club face. And this tour rotation stick here just allows you to do that, and it made it so much easier for my students as well. So when hitting some golf shots, we started off with just small chip shots with a mid-iron. I've got 6-iron here, but I'd recommend something like an 8-iron. And we just took the club back just to this first point here, and then encouraged the hands to work left. Now that wasn't the best of strikes, but I'm just really trying to exaggerate the feel here of doing this. So we're just taking the club back for P1, and then we're just swinging through as normal, getting that hip turn, getting the sternum to face towards the target, and just ensuring that as we get to this point here, this stick doesn't put more pressure on this leg. It's okay if it stays on the leg for this, but preferably I'd like to see those hands working this way, hip working out the way, to give this toe rotation stick enough room to not hit the body, just to swing round the body instead. So after you've made a couple of chipping swings back and forth, just like so, really trying to avoid this toe rotation stick from hitting you, we can then start adding that stage 2, just getting that slightly bigger backswing. So 1, 2, 3. All the way back and forth. And you'll notice that a couple of the golf shots here have gone to the right, and that's absolutely fine because we are promoting way more shaft lean, more rotation to be added into the golf shots. And that's simply just because when we get more shaft lean, it promotes an open face, more of an open face. But imagine doing this at speed. Imagine doing this at the normal 70 to 80 miles an hour swing speed. Yep, you may be a bit lower or a bit higher, but it's certainly going to square things up for you. But the key thing to look out for when doing these shorter swings, building it up into full swings, is that if you were to video yourself from this camera angle here, when I make my swing up to the top and then on the way through, too many bad habits with students I've noticed recently when they've tried doing this is starting to see when they take this toe rotation stick away is that the hands are still visible and the club head isn't after impact like this here. We want the opposite. We want to get those hands disappearing, hiding behind the body before the club head, and that controls the club face on the way through. Keeps those hands working ahead of the club face, allows us to generate more rotation, more turn, improving the overall strike and shot outcome. So working this up into full swings, we're keeping it nice on plane on the way back, working our way up to the top of the swing, then we're working it back down, getting that sternum to face the target, hands working left, firing the hips left as well, giving the room to stop that toe rotation stick from hitting the body. So let's see what we can do just with one shot with the toe rotation stick, and then I'm just going to hit a shot to finish without it. So there you go, that's the very far right outcome because I'm trying so hard to stop this from hitting the body. But let's give us a try without the toe rotation stick. Then we've had plenty of rehearsal drills with the stick. Let's see this all in one motion without the stick. By the way, you can get these toe rotation sticks from Golf Swing Systems, 5% off using the code SURE5. I'll leave the link in the description below as well. And you can also get these high quality golf clubs from GX Golf. They provide high quality golf clubs for a fraction of the price in comparison to the rest on the market. And I've been using these gloves now for 3 months. I'm really impressed with the quality. I'm going to continue using these because they're great value for what they cost. And if you'd like to have a look at them, you can get yourself 10% off using the code Harry10, and the link will be in the description below. So last shot to finish on, getting the hands working this way for P1 up to the top of the swing, keeping them nice and controlled. Then we're just turning, getting those hands working left, hips firing out the way, and finishing through to the target. Let's see. Yeah, that was nice. I don't think I exaggerated the hands working left enough and keeping the face behind, keeping the hands enough ahead of the golf ball, just simply because that was ever so slightly thin, but it was a much straighter shot, which is a great indication that I was able to control the club face on that one. So if you've come this far, I'd highly recommend hitting the subscribe button, as there's content coming out every Tuesday and Friday, 6 PM GMT. And be sure to give us a follow on Skillist, the online coaching app. If you're looking for more personalized coaching tips, I'm going to be revealing my first ever downswing course that's coming out very soon on the platform. Be sure to check out any of these 2 videos over here. The top one talking to you a little bit more in detail about how we can get this transition taking place in the downswing, and the bottom one for more tips to help you improve that takeaway. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the very next video.